Hello, everybody. Welcome to Global Party, healing on all levels. And we are graced with the presence of Kate Brown from Manchester United Soccer Club. No, just kidding. No. They lost.
Oh.
From Manchester, United Kingdom. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome, Kate.
Hello.
And Kate is going to share with you about doing things differently and having them work out, I might add. Okay. And when I asked her about what was her song that got her inspired, you said what, Kate?
I hope you dance.
I hope you dance. So here's a listen, and listen to the lyrics.
I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. Choice to sit it out or dance. I hope you dance. I hope you dance.
You know, and that dance and that movement and shifting and changing and doing things differently is giving you that opportunity to have a whole new life. So tell us, how did it all start that you decided to do things differently?
Well, so with work, oh, you've frozen. Are you still there?
I am.
Oh, you are, yeah. So a few different things have been different, I suppose. I was brought up quite traditionally, and I had Evelyn before I got married, so that was quite different. And then with the house, we were moving house, and the house fell through, so we decided to rent, and we're really happy renting, and we stayed renting, so that's been quite different from the people around us anyway. And then was it last year? The years are sort of merging a little bit. Was it last year? I think it might have been last year, maybe the year before. I decided to leave work because it was just getting a bit too much, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I did this course online, and one of the things it got you to do was to plan out your week. So you had, I don't know how many hours you had in a week. I can't remember now. Can't remember the figure. But let's say it was 137. I don't know what it is, but anyway. And I worked out that I had 139 hours of stuff I was trying to fit into that time. Which probably explained a whole heap of why things weren't really going very well. So yeah, I decided that actually what was best was not to be at work. And also I was quite ill at the time as well. I had bronchitis and I kept getting ill. So then I was off at home and trying to figure out what I was going to do in the new year. And I panicked, majorly panicked, and kind of went, oh, I'm an idiot. What have I done? I've given up the perfect job. I could drop my kids off at school. I could pick them up. I was off with them at the holidays because I was a teaching assistant in school. And I started just to panic, thinking, what the hell have I done? So 6 weeks later, they asked me to go back as a cover. So I did. And at the time, my mum said, no, don't do it. But I was panicky, so I went back. And part of the panic was money related. Part of my panic was, well, I'm not doing anything now. You know, my kids aren't at home with me. They don't need me at home like they did when they were younger. They were at school. And I'm not bringing in any money. So how can I justify being at home, basically? So I went back to work, and I didn't get paid for 3.5 months the whole time I was there because of admin glitches and stuff. And eventually, it was like the universe was just testing how much it could push me in this scenario, really, because I just kept going back and kept going back. My mum kept saying, stop going back, you're not getting paid. Right. And eventually the head of the school had a right go at me, proper shouted at me and blamed me for the fact that I hadn't been paid, and that I'd upset the admin woman because I'd found out through various meetings that basically they should have made me sign forms that they didn't make me sign, which I'd been asking about since day one. So I decided that was it. I wasn't going back. I wasn't getting paid, and I wasn't about to be shouted at by someone who was not in any way sympathetic. So I didn't go back. As soon as I left, 2 weeks later I got paid. But it made me realise that yeah, it doesn't matter in a sense. That, so we were fine with the money, you know, we didn't,
Mhm.
we were all right. So that sort of took that worry away in a sense. But also it made me realise that I could spend my time in a traditional work setting doing that, or I could do something that actually lights me up. And I decided that that would be a better choice, because what I learned was that it doesn't really matter what you do with your time, because money or no money, you've only got that one time anyway, so use it properly. So that's when I took a proper break and did nothing for a couple of months. I had the girls off with me from school anyway, so you know, that's the other thing. It's always quite stop start because they're in school for 6 weeks and they're off for a week or 2 weeks, and then blah, so it's always a bit like that.
Okay, so hold on. I'm going to just go back here, okay, because I want people to get sort of the journey. So
okay.
First, when you talked about the fact, like way back when, where you started to rent instead of own, right?
Yes.
Because basically what you're saying is all your family and friends are owning, and
Yes.
owning a house is the way to go. And the stories that you had to deal with related to owning and making a decision to rent.
Yes.
Right.
And even now still we get asked, so are you still looking for a house? Are you still looking to buy? We still get asked that. Still.
So in your, frame of what, when people were saying to you, you're going to rent instead of own, what were you making that mean?
Yeah, good question. So I think I was making that mean that we weren't doing the right thing. We weren't good enough. We were being stupid, making silly mistakes, stepping off the property ladder. You're never going to get back on, all these kind of things. But the thing that made me know that it didn't matter was that when we were looking to buy, we'd found this house, which was not great, but it was in the area we wanted it to be in for schools, obviously. Because, everyone does that as well around here. So it was coming closer and closer, and the one we were buying off just kept not wanting to sign the papers, and it was having a big impact on our family, especially on my oldest daughter, because she wanted to know where she was going to live, understandably, and so I just made the decision, and I sent an email saying, look, if this isn't resolved by 5 o'clock on this Friday, we're walking away. I don't care how much money we've already spent on it, we're walking away, and I'm taking control back because I'm fed up of giving it to everyone else. Right. And I don't think they thought I was serious at all. I think lawyers never do think you're going to do something like that. And I think the lawyer of the woman we were buying off was particularly quite arrogant, if that was the right word to use, in that respect, sort of thinking I was never going to do that. Anyway, 5 o'clock came and went and nothing happened. And I said to Paul, right, that's it, we've walked away. And I'd already looked the previous day, because I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I'd looked the previous day for rental, and there was only 2 places that we could afford to rent. And only one was in the right sort of place where we could easily get them to school from. So I had booked already for us to see it on the Saturday, because I knew that we weren't going to buy that house. And so we went to see it on the Saturday, and we just fell in love with it. But even more importantly, on the Friday, when 5 o'clock had come and gone, Paul actually went, oh, thank God for that. And I was like, yeah.
You both, in a sense, were still going for what everybody else thought was right for you.
Yeah.
Even though you could feel that it was in some ways wrong, because when you say you knew, what did that, like, because people that are listening, they're going, what do you mean you knew? Like, how did you know? Because you can't know. Because 5 o'clock hasn't come yet. You gave them a deadline. You're not sure what they're going to do, but you knew. So do you have some psychic ability? Was it a feeling?
No, it was the feeling. And also I think things that had gone before, conversations we'd sort of had with this lady, and then she'd say something completely the opposite in a later conversation. I just thought, she's not. And actually conversations that I'd had with her about the fact that she was leaving that house and why she was leaving that house. And I knew she wasn't ready to leave the house. She wasn't ready to go. That had been her family home, and her husband had died, and now she was moving to go into essentially a retirement place, like a end of life home. And she wasn't ready for that. She wasn't ready to accept that or to do that. And a sale had already fallen through once. And when I was asking about that, I thought, yeah, you're not ready. So it was a lot of that as well, I think, that I picked up on.
So you were actually, instead of like so many people do, just looking externally, you were evaluating the different things that people were saying, your feelings, and this inner knowing that you just
Yeah.
kind of were trusting, and it was like, you're done. 5 o'clock, it's done. I know it's going to work out. And Paul's sighing. And now you're in this place and you're renting. And since you started renting and following what you felt and doing things differently, how has life been working out?
Yeah, just brilliantly, really. I think the biggest, well, it's interesting. I think I refer to my mum a lot because she's a great observer of me in particular. And she's
Moms are, you know. Don't you think you're a great observer of your children?
I don't know. I think I could be better. But yeah, she says things like, so in this last 6-8 weeks, I've decided to start this new business, and she actually said to me, you couldn't have done that 12 months ago. Mm-hmm. So I think what has happened since we've been here 3 years and 3 months now. Okay. Since we've been here in this time, I've massively changed as a person and grown and become who I always wanted to be, I think, without really knowing how in the past how to do that. And I think shedding all of those things that people told us in the past we had to have has allowed the freedom for that to happen. So and just having a different, meeting other people who have a similar outlook and do similar things, and oh hey, your life works, you know. You've managed it, so you know it's possible. And then stop sort of growing that belief then that yeah, it is possible and you can do things differently and it's perfectly okay. You know, there isn't one way to.
Right. And so how have your kids, for instance, picked up? How do you feel that what have they noticed differently that you have decided to do things differently? You know, did they start to say, hey, things are a little bit more easy or joyful or flowing, that mom is less stressed?
I think they noticed that when I stopped work completely, because then Paul describes it as being the holiday me. So when I was at work as a TA, I would have, you know, these regular holidays, and he could see the difference. The holiday me to the work me was very, very different. Right. And so now I think we have the holiday me all the time, which is great, you know. Right. So I think they have noticed that as well, and just a less sort of manic feeling generated from me that sort of emanates out as to things have to be done and they have to be done now. But I've become far less of that, far more like, no.
And so how did you learn to let go of all that sort of manic and mayhem about trying to cram in 150 hours into 137 during a week, or whatever the numbers?
Yeah, well, to me, it was interesting because just doing that exercise was the real light bulb clear moment of, on paper, yeah, this is crazy. You're trying to do more than is literally physically possible in a week. So that was good at crystallizing what I sort of already sort of knew, really. And I've forgotten your question. I'm sorry.
So what started to shift? Okay, so one was the awareness of the time, right?
Yes.
And you moved. And as, you know, you had the situation where you didn't get paid at work. So that was an awareness, hey, you know, what the universe is saying, stay home.
Yeah.
Right? It's all going to be fine. However, there's still probably, you know, background conversation, or, you know, as people like to say, an old mindset that's saying, oh my gosh, there's still like bills to pay and there's still things to do. How did you start to learn to let go and relax and trust the process?
I think a few things. I got ill quite a few times, and quite seriously ill. More recently, only this year. I think this year was like the final push, which was great. And through that, I truly realised, again, what my mum has been saying all along. She's always right, which is that I might not have been getting paid to do a job, but the jobs I was doing, even just being a mum, were massive. And that when I got ill and other people had to step up to do that, I got to see what she was meaning properly. And things like Paul did the shopping, and it took him like 3 hours to go and do the shopping and put the shopping away. And I was so grateful that he'd done it. And then it hit me, but I get upset with myself if I've not done that in 45 minutes. So what? You know, and so suddenly I was just like, whoo, okay, so let's not do that anymore. If I can be truly grateful that someone else has done it at all, regardless of how long it's taken them or whether things aren't quite in the right place or whatever, just that they've done it, then I can now accept that they are grateful that I do it for them, which I think was a key that I'd not been able to accept before, that it wasn't enough that I was doing that. It needed to have a monetary value on it. And actually, no, it didn't, you know. And my mum had been pointing out that if you did put monetary value on all those things, how much would it be? Because it would be massive. Because, you know, so there was that. Yeah, that was probably quite a big thing, though. Yeah.
So it was just your awareness that you, like, just, you know, this inner knowing that started coming up within you every time you got sick and realizing what was going on, that you started to realize that you could do, in a sense, more of what you loved by getting less attached to it. Was it, or was there anything else involved?
Yeah, I think as well, I read a book, Thank and Grow Rich, which as one of the exercises within it was a gratitude exercise. And she suggested in the book, Pam Grower's by, she suggested that you could like write it yourself, or you could do it on social media. And I thought, actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that on social media. So every day for a whole year, I did 3 daily gratitudes. Mm-hmm. And from that, I thought I was already quite a positive person anyway. From that, I became far, far more aware of everything. And although I was only documenting 3, many times I was like, how can I only put 3? There was just so much in this day. From, you know, the sun was shining, right. I saw a lovely flower, to, you know, and it was that awareness, that growing that sort of muscle strength of gratitude and awareness of what is just there, you know, and then adding the family and adding things going well, or adding serendipitous moments when, you know, you're in the right place at the right time, and that's just like another level of wow, that can happen as well. And so there was that really as well, I think, was another element to it, and just and showing, like, more openly showing my gratitude to other people and maybe verbalizing it more, and then having feedback from people who are reading my posts saying how much that had lifted their day or given them a bit of happiness, and realizing that that's a total ripple, you know, a total ripple. So that sort of shifted as well a little bit, really, how I was looking at what was important, really, like at a fundamental level, not just like at a intellectual level, right, but as in a proper shifting realignment level. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, well, I guess really that's a good word, realignment, because in a sense you had to go from being over here to being here, and in that process, you know, like a car, they've got to rebalance it, but you would have had to let go of some things and let some new things come in. And that sounds like more gratitude and more awareness of what really is, you know, here every single day of our life.
Yeah, definitely.
So your mom is probably going to want a copy of this video. So is it really that everybody needs to have a mom like your mom that's been cheering you on, or did you have, you know, other connections and support, or was it really the fact that your mom has always been sort of in the background saying you can do it, just trust yourself, and that you just started to find the right path?
I think some people can do it all by themselves, I think, probably, but I think cheerleaders, in whatever form you find them, and supportive networks are really important. And my mum has been one that's been there my entire life, but throughout the last year and a bit, maybe, has it even been that long? I don't know. There's obviously been you. And that other whole group of people that I met through the Trust Your Inner Guidance Facebook 10 days, who have been massively instrumental in that support and that encouragement of, yeah, keep going. Yeah, you do. you're not mad. We think the same way, and we view life in the same way. And I think finding people who view life and look at life in a similar way to you is really important to help you keep going, because otherwise those other voices who have been there all the time, who are the much more prominent voices in all honesty, you're going to get swayed back to them, I think, eventually.
Yeah, I would say that that's what people have to be really aware of is, you know, kind of what sea they're swimming in. Because if you're swimming in the sea that is the one where you want to get out of, you know, really, eventually you're just going to get pulled back, right? It's,
Yeah.
I remember an analogy of someone saying it's like getting pulled out of the pit. If you're hanging around the edge of the pit, likelihood is you're going to slip, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for a moment, whoop, you're going to get pushed back in. But if you can step away and find another group that supports, you know, where you want to go, and it may still not be the group that gets you to really where you want to go, but it's that process of realizing that there is support and help along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you have been following your inner guidance and trusting this whole process, and you've discovered that you have these beautiful healing hands. And what are you doing with them?
Do massage. Yeah.
And like, you know, the full body massage, or what type of massage?
Yeah, lots of different things. So I am going to finish my qualification. I will finish at the end of June. So that will be for full body Swedish massage. I already do facials and seated acupressure massage, which is seated in a chair over clothing, and Indian head massage I already do, and aroma touch technique, which isn't really massage at all. It's a really light touch technique using essential oils. And I also already have some clients that I just do foot and lower leg massages on as well, rather than full body. They're older clients, so yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say foot and lower leg is probably good for people like with neuropathy, things like that. You know, poor circulation. Would that be?
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I tend to have older gentlemen who I see for foot and lower leg. Yeah.
I mean, let's think about it, Kate. Sit in the mirror lately. Okay. They're probably enjoying the total attention as well as the sensations and the feeling.
Yeah. Well, I have to say,
have you ever asked them what they're actually thinking about when you're massaging their legs?
No. I'm not sure I ever would. But I have to say, I think it is far more than the physical massage. It's far more than like what's happening when you massage, like, you know, moving the lymph and moving. It's more than that. It's just the touch is the thing,
right.
And especially for the older guys who are all either widowed or just on their own now. You know, like there's one guy, the guy that I still see. He said, "Oh, I can feel that," as I was touching the bottom of his feet. I was like, "Yeah, can you not normally?" He said, "I don't know. I've never felt that before." I thought, "Blooming heck, no one has ever touched your foot before."
Right.
It mind blowing. Right. And so things like that, I suppose. And there was one older gentleman that I saw as well for nearly a year, not quite, but it was. I kind of knew, but I don't know that he did. Towards the end, it was his last year of life, and he definitely started to take more care of himself after I started to visit. And I visited him once a week, pretty much every week, apart from school holidays with the kids. For roughly, you know, just short of the last year of his life. And it was a massive change in him because he started to try to look after himself more. I think in a lot of ways it was too late, really, because it was like a lifetime of self-neglect before that. But just it was amazing to see, you know, his face lit up and he was up early and he was ready to see me, and I think it just gave him that something, you know, that somebody cared enough to want to touch him and was prepared to, do you know, and then that sort of starts all sorts of things, doesn't it, you know?
Well, you know, right, every part of our body is supposedly connected to every other part of our body, right? So
Yeah.
the foot has connected to, you know, when you're touching certain areas, I'm sure you know that you're connecting to certain pressure points,
Yeah.
but they don't know, right?
No, exactly.
And I'm sure, like, if they've never had their foot touched, you know what? It's like you're actually getting, in a sense, you're touching their soul in a way. And that's this wonderful healing. Like, imagine that if you hadn't done things differently,
I know.
you would not be helping these people transition, because really that's what you did. You probably put a smile on his face. So when it was the last end of his year, he had a healing on the inside, you know, in the sense that he went away peacefully. Feeling.
Yeah.
That's a huge gift.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like, my dad is, he's almost 89, and he's got a few of his, we laugh. I said, you guys should be doing a blog or something, because there's, you know, they usually talk about all the older women being still alive, right? But, you know, he's got like 3 of his friends that they go to the, you know, theater, and they go to the movies, you know, and they're doing this thing, and they still all kind of like getting, you know, not dressed in suits or stuff, but they're sharp dressers.
Yeah.
Right?
Dapper.
Dapper. And but that's one thing that I've said to him is, like, I know my oldest daughter, she's got a great ability too in her hands, and she'll, like, you know, do his shoulders or his neck, and he's like, oh, that's so great. And I said, Dad, why don't you just go book yourself like a massage? Like, it's, you know, certainly afforded, right? Like, it's not a price, but there's something that stops him from going there, right? And I feel like almost if there was somebody knocking on his door saying, you know what, I'll just come in, that's doing a mobile massage, you're far away across the ocean, but you know what I mean? That he would be more receptive to that.
Yeah.
So people can find you online, right? And book you in the Manchester area?
They can, yeah. On Facebook, yeah.
There you go. And we'll leave those links in below. But if you've also gone into corporate, haven't you?
Well, we are planning to, yes. So that's the thing that I did right at the beginning, when I said I started something about 8 weeks ago, started another business 8 weeks ago, which my mum had said, there's no way you could have done that a year ago. And she was right. So a friend and I decided, we talked bits about going into corporate, because that's where you find most people most of the time in their job, and yet they still need a massage, so go to them is the idea, you know. And it had been sort of playing on my mind a bit, and I thought, I just got the feeling one day to post a question in a Facebook group that I'm a part of, which another friend had randomly added me to. I hadn't even known about it. Okay. And I posted the question, do wellness funds exist in businesses? And if they do, who do you go about speaking to about it? Right. And I got some replies, and then one lady replied going, yes, I'd like you to come into my business. Message me privately if you were interested. So I did. And she turned out to be some big senior person in a company called CBRE, which I'd never heard of. So I had to Google, found out about that. And so we are now currently in the process of getting together all the information that she needs in order that she can actually hire us, because it turned out that we needed a lot of things to tick her boxes for her so that she could then actually hire us. So we're still in the process of doing that, but hopefully by the end of May, early June, that'll be done, and then we will hopefully be going in there regularly to work people. And I think the thing that just really was like, of course, you know CBRE, and you knew them and you knew who they were. I was like, of course you do. Of course, that's the way it is.
Well, I always just get amazed, because even when I feel like wow, you know, life is so amazing, there's always more amazement. There's always more wows. And you know, I was looking at the grains of sand yesterday on the beach, right? And I had a handful, and I was looking at how tiny, and I thought, you know, it's really hard to just make out one tiny little grain of sand. They're so tiny. And I was like, this is what you and I are, like, in the scope of the universe, right? we're so irrelevant, but yet we feel we're so relevant.
Yeah.
So the thing I feel like it's just trusting this. You do more by doing less. You just feel guided, right, to do things differently, and they've worked out for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message that people need to hear, and hear it more often, is that those of you that are attached to certain ways of being, imagine if you'd stayed owning a house, right? It's a part of the process. And it might not be for you moving from owning to renting a house, those that are watching, but it's like knowing that there's something that you're still thinking you've got to do when inside you somehow you're saying no, like, I feel differently. And that's the gift that you start with yourself. And when you work on yourself, you actually, as you say, you have had this ripple effect on posting, 3 things you're grateful for, and you're seeing this huge shift that you're contributing in the world.
Yeah, it's great.
Is there anything else that you would love the viewers here to know about doing things differently?
Well, there will always be people who tell you you're mad or you're doing it wrong, or what? You done what? Crazy woman. But I think you have to feel what you feel, and acknowledge what you feel, and listen to what you feel, and hold that feeling and that knowledge of that it'll be all right. I think I certainly have had it all my life, but I've not listened to it all my life, and I think everybody does. But you learn out of it. It's something you learn not to do. So when you're relearning how to do it, you are going against the mainstream, which is always a little bit tricky. So find a group, Jacqueline's group, and find a group around you that are doing the same thing or similar, and then it makes it a lot easier.
Awesome. You can see by the smile on her face, right? And the laughter. I love her laugh. She's just brilliant. So, if you want to know more about doing things differently, or get some encouragement, or if you're in the Manchester area, right, and you want to reach out and get one of those mobile massages, or like, I wonder if you could almost like learn to do it virtually. Right? Have someone stick their foot, sending the energy, because I know, like, I can do energy work, right? So
well, I was going to say, I think what you're describing is Reiki, really, and absent healing. But I don't know. For me, the whole point of massage is the human touch.
Yeah,
it's the fundamental part of it, because it gives you that connection, that really deep connection instantly, and it's a way of connecting with people that you don't know, but connecting properly with them, and appropriately, obviously, but connecting deeply and quickly. And I don't know that you could get that across there.
And I think that's probably doing things differently too, with the amount of stuff, like, although we're doing this virtually, the amount of conversation that's about virtual, and there is that element that this is great that we can connect. It's in your own backyard, in your own community, in your own family, you can make a difference.
Yeah.
So when we reach out and actually recognize, again, there are physical beings that are more than just a head, then we really are doing things differently. So thank you for being here with us, Kate. And I look forward to more conversations about doing life differently.
Thank you for having me.